welcome to this week's video. So this week I'm going to be repairing part of the gîte roof. Now I'm standing in front of the gîte and you can see the roof behind me. It's quite a large roof, however to one side I've actually got a small little roof that is actually for the bathroom, and I'm going to start repairing some of that roof first to see how we get on, and then the plan is to then do some more repairs on the larger roof a bit later in the year potentially. So here's the roof that I'm going to be working on, and as you can see it's just a small section, and this way I can kind of basically have a look, see what the roof is like, see what the slats are like, see what I need to change, and it will give me a good idea of what I'm going to have to do on the main roof of the house. The gîte is empty at the moment. We've got 2 or 3 days free. This weather's good, so I thought let's jump on it, let's get going. As you can see, because this is the north side of the gîte, one, we've got quite a bit of moss on it, but two, a lot of the tiles there are just broken off. They've just had a lot of frost damage and basically need replacing. We don't have any leaks, but it's something I need to do before we start getting leaks, especially if we've got people staying in the gîte. So there we are. So I've got ladders to get up and do the first few rows of the roof. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way kind of up, and I'll remove the bottom ones, and then what I can try and do is when I replace them, I'll replace the bottom and then work from the top. There's going to be a bit of movement at the top because it's cemented at the top, so I'm not sure how I'm going to do that quite yet, but we'll have a look when we get up there. I've got a bucket for old tiles so I can get rid of them, and I've also got sort of some roof ladders. Now I've actually didn't have a ladder that was just straight, that was small enough for this roof, so I've actually used one of my scaffolding ladders, one of the sides of the scaffolding, hence why it's a little bit wider. And what I've also tried to do is pad it out, basically because these tiles are quite delicate, and if you put a ladder up and you start climbing on them, sometimes you can break more than you're replacing. So I'm hoping that the padding I've put on this will stop any tiles breaking, but we'll see later when I use it. But I've got that there ready for when I sort of need to get up to the top. So I've started to remove the first, I suppose, metre of the roof here, and it's exposed the lats and obviously the insulation. Now this really is just a repair job rather than sort of replacing and redoing the roof and everything else. So where the slats are pretty solid and aren't rotten and aren't broken, I'm going to keep them. And as you can see, one slat is broken here. And it was just completely rotten, so I've removed that, and I've got some spare slats I'm going to measure up, cut and fit, and that will replace the slats that are rotten. It's about replacing tiles like this that have completely broken. So we're getting our way through this. The sun's starting to come round and it's getting in my eyes. So I've got my trusty old straw hat that will give me a bit of shade while I'm up there. As I'm exposing more of the roof, I'm exposing more wood that is rotten. And I've only got a few bits and pieces to replace or repair. And actually some of these slats are just gone. So it's off to the DIY shop for me. Also, frustratingly, the wood that I need, they don't sell. It needs to be special treated wood and they don't do it. So it's off to the local Brico-Marché who do have it. Let's go. There's one thing I need to pick up first, and that's some bread for lunch. Bread! Oh, it's so good. So good. Right, Brico, let's go. There we are, Brico done. I've got the wood and some nails, so I'm on my way back home. So I'm up on the roof and I just wanted to give you an update of where we are. So as you can see, some of these main wood, it's just literally been attacked by woodworm and it's kind of all falling apart. Now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get rid of most of it. There we are. I'm just trying to get rid of most of it so that I'm getting back to the solid wood. It's not ideal, but I don't want to be pulling off the whole roof and replacing these quite yet. So I am going to have to replace these at some point, but I don't really want to be doing it now, because I think what I'm going to have to do is probably replace a big chunk of this roof, change the insulation and everything. Really, the idea of today was just to replace the broken tiles, but it's kind of got into a bigger job than I expected, and there's obviously some woodworm in the wood. So I'm going to scrape back the worst of the wood, and then I'm going to treat all the wood with some woodworm treatment, replace the slats and put the tiles back on, and put some insulation in the places where it needs it, and at least then that will keep me going for another 5 years. And when we come to replace the main roof, we may come back to this and replace some of these bigger woods as well. So it's a bit annoying, but that's the way these jobs work out. So it's only those two that seem to be affected by the woodworm, so I'm going to clear them up. All of these absolutely solid, not a problem at all. I'm tired. It's the end of the day. I'm pretty happy with the amount of work I've got done. We had a few problems with the wood, but we've managed to treat that, and I've now got the slats in place. So all I need to do now is put the tiles back and obviously replace the tiles that were broken. But it's the end of the day and I'm knackered. And one thing you shouldn't do is work on a roof when you're tired. So I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. I'm going to put a tarpaulin over this just to protect it. I don't think it's going to rain. I think it'll be fine. I'm going to get back to this tomorrow morning. And hopefully tomorrow morning I should be able to get all the tiles up, get it back in place, and it should be looking good as new. So here we are, it's the next day. We need to finish this roof off before we get any gîte guests. So I'm going to take this tarpaulin off and finish getting the tiles up and hopefully getting the roof nice and repaired. So here we are, we're on the roof and I've nearly finished laying all of the tiles. Just wanted to give you a couple of advice if you were going to try and do this yourself. So first of all, make sure you have all of the equipment you need beforehand. So for example, I didn't have these extra slats, and so I had to go and get them, and that obviously delayed the job. Another tip as well is to make sure you have stainless steel nails. And the reason being is it means that they won't rust, which means it'll last a lot longer. I'm trying to reuse some old tiles. Most of them are still pretty good. But the main thing is make sure there's no fault in them or they're going to break. So for example, this one, I know if I go like that, it's broken. So if you are using old tiles, make sure you just give them a good test to make sure that they're pretty solid and they're not going to crack. I've also cleaned them off a little bit as well. That's more for aesthetics than anything else. But these have a lip on the edge of them, which means that they lip onto the wood like that. And once you've got all of them on, the weight of them all keeps them in place. The one negative of using old tiles rather than brand new is you can get ones that are a bit wavy and curvy. So this one is quite wavy, quite curvy. And in fact, I may not use this one. I've put it there, but I probably won't use this one. It just means that when you're laying them, you're probably not going to get a complete and utter flat surface. This is because these are often, the old ones are handmade, and if they have been used on a roof previously, they will probably have curved slightly as they've kind of sat on the roof. But the main point of this project was to repair the ones that had broken. Luckily it was a small area of roof, and in the end I ended up, because I had to replace these slats, I ended up taking a lot more off than I wanted to. I was hoping just to take the odd one out. Now for these, if you want to take a tile out, the best thing to do is try and lift them up, and then if you lift the top tiles out, you should be able to wiggle out the tile you want and then slot a new one in. Because I've got a lot of these tiles off, I can also just slide them in. So as I'm going along now, it makes it a lot easier to put the tiles back on. So depending on how many you want to replace, you may decide that actually pulling them all off and then putting them back on is probably just as quick as trying to lift them up and slot one in. So if there's a lot that you need replacing, like I did here, it's actually slightly easier to remove them. You can make any repairs that you need to underneath and then slot them back on. The other tip as well is, where possible, you want to start at the bottom and then work your way up. If you're starting at the bottom, as you lay them down, it's a lot easier just to put one on top of the other and then you can slide it in. So it's obviously a lot easier to start from the bottom. On the dud. Start at the bottom and then lay on top. However, because I got some concrete at the top there, and I didn't want to disturb the concrete, I didn't want to kind of knock it back and then put some new concrete in. At the top, I had to kind of keep the old tiles there and try and slot some new ones underneath. So I've kind of done a bit of a go from the bottom, go from the top, meet in the middle and work to the side. So that's not ideal, but it's worked for me for this situation here. The other big piece of advice that I can give people is these tiles are quite fragile. So when you put ladders on, they can often, if there's a point of pressure somewhere, it can obviously break the tile. So if you've just replaced these tiles, what you don't want to be doing is breaking them and then having to go back and changing them again. So one thing I've done, which you can kind of probably see here, is I've just got strong dense foam and I've just put it on the back of my ladders. That means it just gives a bit of extra support, and certainly down here, because my ladders were a bit sort of shorter really than the roof, they weren't going off, this was causing a point here and it was obviously breaking the tiles when I was standing on these ladders. So again, I just put a piece of wood, put some more foam, and that spreads the weight, so when I'm on it, it's spreading it over several tiles. Since doing that, I haven't broken any tiles using these ladders, so that's worked really, really well. So that's a really, you know, good tip as well. I'm going to get this finished and hopefully it's going to look nearly new and look really good, and then I'm probably on the other side of this look at just repairing some tiles. So when I do that side, hopefully I can show you how to replace a couple of tiles rather than doing the whole roof, which I've done here. So there we are. I've finished the roof. It's taken me 2 days. I've still got half a day to clear all of this mess up, but I'm really, really happy with that. It looks fantastic. We've replaced a lot of them with newer tiles, but I've obviously used some old tiles as well. The real test is obviously when it rains and there's a storm, that it's still dry inside, but I think it will be. I'm pretty confident of that. I'm now going to do the other side and just replace some tiles. At some point, I'm going to have to do that roof, which I think will take me a lot longer and possibly be a lot harder. But there we are, really happy. So I've just found this tile I took off the roof, and you might be able to see it's got a dog paw print. So obviously when they were making these tiles and they were putting them out to dry, a dog's walked on it and put a dog print in it. How funny is that? There we are, guys. I've finished both sides of this roof. It's the bathroom of the gîte, and on this side I've replaced the broken tiles. Most of it was okay, but there's a few broken tiles. I'm really happy with the end product. It hasn't cost me much. I've had to buy a bit of wood and a few nails, but other than that, I've reused tiles that we already had, and now I'm hoping it will last another 5 years. So yeah, super happy about that. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to be notified of future videos. And I'll see you next time. Cheers, guys. Bye.